Hi there, I'm your host Mr. Doyle, and this is a great undertaking. Welcome back to the Creepshow series. Last week I discussed the original 1982 Creepshow movie and the accompanying graphic novella, and today I'll be taking a look at the 1987 sequel, Creepshow 2. I was working on this script the other night after finishing the movie, and I was frustrated. So frustrated, in fact, that my wife asked me if I was okay. I hadn't made her suffer through the movie with me, and instead I watched it on my phone with earbuds in, so she didn't know why I looked so angry. I hadn't realized I was visibly just seething. Apparently my face was stuck in a sneering glare of sorts that gave away how I was feeling about what I had just watched. And not because the movie was bad. I mean, yeah, it's really bad. But because I don't know what there is to say about this movie aside from that it's bad. I want to add something to the conversation. I want to hypothesize and theorize and explore the depths. How could I possibly make a worthwhile video about this? Seriously, what can I say about Creepshow 2? I mean, there's no deeper meaning, no subtext, no moral or message. This movie is objectively terrible. I don't care that what makes good art is subjective, or that beauty is supposedly in the eye of the beholder, or whatever. If you watched this movie and saw anything other than buffoonery, dipshittery, and outright nonsense, you need to see an optometrist right away. Your eyes are fucked up, man. Honestly, Creepshow 2 is unquestionably the worst of all the King movies I've watched so far. Of all 32 of them, this one takes the turd cake. And while the first Creepshow movie wasn't a cinematic masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, when compared to this one, it seems like a highbrow work of art of the highest caliber. I now regret trash talking all of those other King movies. I didn't realize just how bad it was going to get. I mean, this makes the Carrie the Musical episode of Riverdale seem tolerable by comparison. Even with all the same people involved, King, Romero, and Savini, albeit in different roles, Creepshow 2 is an utterly smoldering load of festering moose ejaculate. So I guess this video will just be me complaining about how awful this movie was, because frankly, there is nothing else to discuss. My apologies in advance to anyone who has come to this channel for a nuanced, insightful discussion of Stephen King material. This movie simply doesn't provide anything that could possibly be interpreted or explored beyond what it gives us at face value, and what it gives us at face value is, well, I suppose comparing it to a flaming pile of large mammal cum a few moments ago probably summed it up. To quote an old favorite of mine, the 1994 comedic masterpiece, PCU,
I knew it was going to be bad. I did not know it would be this bad.
Reviews and critical reception. Creepshow 2 had a $3.5 million budget, and, well, I'm not sure what they spent it on. More incredible, though, is that the movie made $14 million at the box office. That's miraculous, really. But much like the movie itself, the reviews and reception were overwhelmingly bad. Janet Maslin of the New York Times wrote that the film, quote, has 3 suitably grisly ideas that are only glancingly developed. The episodes are marginally interesting, but each is a little too long, and each could be fully explained in a one-sentence synopsis. Unquote. Truth. Todd McCarthy of Variety panned the film as an, quote, omnibus snooze fest, which is utterly lacking in chills or thrills, with all 3 stories so deficient in imagination and scare quotient they wouldn't pass as even satisfactory episodes on a TV show like Amazing Stories or The Twilight Zone, unquote. Facts. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times called the film, quote, a cut-rate sequel from those two popular masters of horror, Stephen King and George Romero, that plays like leftovers. Fans of both deserve better, unquote. Fucking preach. On Rotten Tomatoes, Creepshow 2 somehow holds a 29% approval rating and a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, which are both way too high. I mean, what the fuck? How? Who saw this and thought, yeah, it could be worse? No, it couldn't. From this point forward, I will be briefly discussing each story from the movie, which were all based on Stephen King stories, but The Raft is the only one of these stories that I can actually find any evidence was written by King. So I like to imagine the other two were written by some incompetent circus clown with a third-grade intellect, randomly pressing keys on a typewriter, and against all odds, wrote something resembling a horror movie script. Additionally, every segment and story in this movie has something I would consider to be problematic at best. I'm not easily offended or triggered, although I'm certain there are plenty of folks out there who would call me a snowflakey libturd, but some of these scenes are just gratuitous, exploitative, and maybe just a little racist. In some cases, seemingly for no reason at all, and also, I will be spoiling everything in this movie with the express intention of making sure that if you haven't seen it, you will never need nor desire to watch it. If you watch this video and still think to yourself, yeah, I should check this movie out, then I have failed you, and also, you're an idiot who deserves to suffer. Old Chief Woodenhead. Jesus Christ. I'm not sure where to even begin. This segment starts off decent enough, but the special effects, the acting, literally everything quickly goes right down the shitter. A Native American tribe is indebted to a store owner who is given some jewelry as collateral for the money that is owed to him. Some punks show up to rob the store and steal the jewelry, which leads to the store owner and his wife being killed. Then the cigar store Indian comes to life to exact revenge on the punks and return the stolen jewelry to the tribe. There are some Native American themes and stereotypes, and I'm not sure this counts as cultural appropriation, but good lord, someone needs to get canceled for this nonsense just out of principle. I mean, look at this guy. Listen to him.
Look at this, sweetheart. Tell me this ain't a movie star. What, are you kidding? Hey, they gotta make me a movie star. Hey, as soon as they see this hair, they're gonna say, Sam, get over here. Get in front of these cameras. There's 100 million women out there just waiting to run that hair between their legs.
And that wig! My God, this dude is supposed to be part of the Native American tribe. Holy mother of whitewashing Christ. Fortunately, this idiot and the other two idiots, Tweedledee and Tweedledipshit, all die shortly after they are introduced. And so, what? Was the chief's name actually supposed to be Chief Woodenhead? Like, is that who the wooden statue is supposed to be of? I mean, you'd expect that for it to come to life, it would have to be a likeness of an actual person and a totem that is inhabited by the ghost of the person the statue is purported to portray. He's some sort of vengeful spirit, but rather than rise up and exact revenge against the descendants of those who did a genocide against his people, he comes back solely to retrieve some jewelry? My dude, far worse atrocities have happened to your people. But this was the thing that brought you shambling to life? Get your priorities in order. Some dipshit dime store hooligans are hardly the greatest threat to your culture. The Raft. Obnoxious douchelings go swimming on a cold day for some reason, get trapped on a raft, and one by one get eaten by a lame-ass patch of not at all believable lake sludge. I was glad they all died. Also, there was some completely out of place, wholly unnecessary sexual assault in this one that makes no sense whatsoever and comes out of nowhere. What the fuck? This dude's girlfriend of at least 4 years and his best friend were just killed by the lake sludge less than a day earlier, and he just wakes up and decides to molest his former best friend's girlfriend in her sleep? Are we to believe this dude would be in the mood for a little forced sexual advancement after everything he just went through? Is he no longer freezing cold or grieving the death of his friend and girlfriend? Did he forget about the deadly lake slop waiting to devour him? Was this just an excuse to show some bare breasts? It sure seems that way. I'm sorry, but fuck this scene in particular. The short story by the same name that this segment of the movie was based on was later included in the Skeleton Crew collection of short stories, and, well, just read the story. I don't remember it that well, but it is undoubtedly better than this hack job interpretation. The Hitchhiker. Lady hits and kills guy with car. Guy comes back from the dead, and a few minutes later, he's accosting her. Lady drives Mercedes through the woods while screaming and wrecks her car repeatedly in an effort to escape. Undead guy kills lady. The end. Well, I guess we know what a decent chunk of the budget was used for, because they thoroughly and aggressively trash this Mercedes. It just gets plowed into trees over and over. This segment of the movie is the most annoying, which is an impressive feat considering everything that came before it. The lead character, whose name I forget and will not make any effort to look up, talks to herself in the car, so the screenwriting doesn't have to try to cleverly show the audience anything. Just have the lady say it out loud to herself in the car. It's so lazy and stupid. In the opening scene, we are shown that the lead character is having an affair. Only, is it an affair if you're paying for sex? Regardless, it doesn't matter. It plays no real role in the story. There is no point to this entire opening scene. Was it to show the audience that she's a bad person and that she's gonna get what's coming coming to her? Are we meant to believe that she deserves to die because she's paying a sex worker to get her rocks off? No! She hits and kills a dude and drives away. That is the reason she arguably deserves her less than gruesome fate. We didn't need the entire first scene of this segment. She could have been coming home from anywhere. Like, I don't know, a Tupperware party or some shit. It didn't need to be there at all. This story ends with the lead character getting back to her house, only to be attacked a final time in her garage by the ghost zombie hitchhiker, and she is apparently ineffectually nibbled to death in her car. When her husband arrives home, he finds her dead in the garage with the car still running, and the garage is just filled with smoke and exhaust. So there is one potential interpretation of this scene, and that is that the ghost zombie dude that was after her was actually a figment of her imagination and a manifestation of her guilt for killing him, and that she, unable to live with what she has done, intentionally takes her own life. There are no bloody bite marks or indications that she was in fact mauled by a corpse, so it's implied, for a minute, that she did in fact kill herself. And that would actually be a meaningful ending to the story. So naturally, they have to ruin that interpretation. When she's found dead by her husband, she has the hitchhiker's sign in her lap. So any deeper meaning, any allusion to the guilt driving her to suicide is dispatched with and properly tossed out the window. They were so close. They almost made a statement or tied in an underlying theme. Phew, that was a close call. They nearly said something or did something worth considering. Good save, guys. Now, the guy that gets hit by the car is black. And that is pointed out by a truck driver who is played by Stephen King. But what was the goal of pointing this out? Why did the dude being black matter?
Looks like a black guy, huh?
At no point does his skin color play an important role. It's just like, oh my God, he's dead. And gasp, also black. Maybe there is some underlying message intended here. I don't know, rich white lady kills poor black man and what? If there was a political or social statement being made here, I can't suss out what it is, but I am 99.9% sure there was zero intention for there to be any meaningful message or worthwhile observation here, and they were just like, hey, he's black, so maybe we should just mention that for no apparent reason. Good call, you dummies. The animations. Tom Savini plays the creep, and his prosthetics are easily the best part of the movie. This character is featured for maybe a grand total of 3 minutes in live action form, but the majority of the creep's appearances are in animated form. All of the animation is awful. All of it. But what stands out the most is the creep's chin, which just looks like a big old ball sack. There's just a massive scrotum hanging off of his face. To complement his jutting testicle chin, they made his nose look like a dick. Just a fucking obvious dick nose. Either no one noticed this, which seems unlikely, or it was an intentional choice made and they were just trolling. Part of me hopes it was intentional because the alternative means they were just oblivious, which, I mean, come on, look at this dude. His face is just the male anatomy with a mouth and eyes, just a talking cock and balls. As I mentioned, all of the animation is terrible. Bernie Wrightson, who worked as the animator and illustrator for the first Creepshow movie, wasn't involved in this one, and sweet Jesus, he really should have been. But I completely understand why he wasn't. Wrightson never would have let this animated abomination happen, and I'm happy he dodged this particular bullet. So maybe I could have used this movie and video as an opportunity to discuss how horror can be problematic or potentially used to address difficult socio-political issues. Maybe I could have talked about how horror movies have notoriously been used as a medium with which to convey divisive subject matter, and how some movies are good at it and some are miserable failures at it. But I already wrote the entire damn script, and I'll be damned if I'm going to be spending, or rather wasting, any more time on this trash movie. If you're interested in that topic of problematic situations in horror films, you should check out the videos from Scaredy Cats and Renegade cut in the description below. They do a great job with this topic, and I highly recommend both content creators. However, both of them are big, raging, radical snowflake lefties like me, so if you're not into occasionally hearing about the empowerment of the proletariat or how the capitalist economic system is destroying the planet, they may not be your cup of tea. Final thoughts. Not every horror film has to say something. There doesn't have to be an underlying theme or message or moral to the story. But if you're only going to provide a surface level film, you had better make sure the final product is an exciting, interesting, well executed movie on the surface. Creepshow 2 is none of those things and is what I would describe as a completely and utterly worthless movie. It brings nothing to the table and is a stain on the careers of otherwise notable, reputable horror icons. Please don't ever watch this movie. Think of the children. Next week, I'll be taking a closer look at Creepshow 3, and I'm starting to question what it is I'm doing on this channel, as well as my own judgment. No one is forcing me to do this. I made this decision, I set a goal, and I'm following through on it for some ungodly reason. So yeah, Creepshow 3 next week, I guess. Here we fucking go. Okay, goodbye. Be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel for my continued analysis of all things Stephen King, pretty please with blood and guts on top. My name is Mr. Doyle, and this has been a great undertaking.